Hello, I'm Elaine Higgleton and I'm the International Publisher for Collins, and I'd like to introduce you to the new edition of Collins Cambridge Lower Secondary Science. The new edition of Collins Cambridge Lower Secondary Science is a 3-level course from Collins which supports the Cambridge Lower Secondary Science curriculum framework. We're very excited to be publishing this to coincide with the updated Cambridge curriculum framework because we believe that it offers really engaging materials for learners, together with very supportive and comprehensive teachers' resource that ensures students have a really good grounding in science in preparation for IGCSE. Today I'm going to give you a short overview of the course, looking at the changes that Cambridge Assessment International Education have made to the curriculum framework for lower secondary science, looking at the different components in the Collins course and the approach that we take to delivering the learning objectives. As I've said, there are 3 levels or stages, and each stage corresponds to the class stage as students progress through secondary school. For each stage, we're publishing a student's book, a workbook, and a teacher's guide. I'm going to summarise the key changes that have been made for the new curriculum framework. First of all, there is a new content strand, Earth and Space. Some of the learning objectives in this content area will be familiar to you because they were formerly covered in chemistry or physics. But there are also a number of new learning objectives to make this content area more substantial and more meaningful. While this does mean that there might be more topics to cover at each stage in lower secondary science now, the Cambridge Assessment International Education team have been careful to ensure that the number of learning objectives to be covered overall hasn't seen any kind of substantial increase. So yes, there is a new topic area and there will be more chapters in the students' books than in the previous edition, but overall the number of learning objectives is broadly the same. Cambridge Lower Secondary Science covers all of the learning objectives in this new content area, with photographs and illustrations to engage students. You can see an example of Earth and Space, and these sample pages are from stage 9. The workbooks, which sit alongside the students' books, and again these sample pages are from stage 9, continue to provide additional practice materials to ensure that students master the vocabulary, especially important for second language speakers of English when they're studying science, and the content for each topic and learning objective. And as you would expect, there is full support for this new content area in the teacher's guides. The second change to the curriculum framework is that the scientific inquiry skills strand has been renamed Thinking and Working Scientifically, and it has been extended to include the use of models and representations. Models and representations are used to help scientists think about objects, processes and systems, and to think about scientific ideas that are not visible or that are abstract. Thinking and Working Scientifically has been fully integrated into the main content strands in the new edition of Collins Lower Secondary Science, as has the new area of using models and representations. In this sample from stage 9, you can see how students are encouraged to think critically about models that they might make themselves and how models like this might help us understand systems and processes better. Schools do not need lots of nice ready-made scientific models to use. You don't need a skeleton. You don't need lots of nice models of the digestive system or of the systems in the human body. Collins Lower Secondary Science provides lots of diagrams and illustrations in the students' books, plus ideas for models that students can either study through the illustrations or make for themselves with some guidance from you. And again, as you would expect, The Teacher's Guide gives you full support on this area, on this new skills area, highlighting how to use any models, how to use the illustrations of models in the students' books, and giving guidance on how to encourage students to use models themselves to investigate and think critically about key aspects of science. The third key change to the curriculum framework is the Science in Context strand. Science in Context has been developed to help students understand how the science they are studying relates to the real world by linking concepts and processes learned in the classroom to ideas and events that are relevant to the student's age and experience, and also including relevant and appropriate historical contexts. The Collins Lower Secondary Science course delivers science in context throughout. There are a wealth of science in context boxes linking the science and the topics that students are studying to real world applications, as you can see from the samples here. The final key change is one of progression. And at lower secondary, the key area of progression to think about is the progression from stage 6 to stage 7, that jump from primary to lower secondary. And Cambridge Assessment International Education have done a lot of work smoothing out the progression from stage 6 to stage 7 to ensure a more seamless progression and to ensure that it isn't a marked jump in skills, knowledge and understanding when students start in stage 7 compared to what they were working at, the level they were working at in stage 6. The new curriculum framework has science in context at its core, with learning objectives across 4 content areas, with thinking and working scientifically embedded throughout. Students using the Collins materials will discover how science is present in their lives every day, and our inquiry-based approach and the inclusion of models to help investigation and understanding will ensure that students naturally start to think and work scientifically and meet the thinking and working scientifically objectives. It's really important for this course to remember that the Teacher's Guide provides a lot of support, as well as the chapter overviews, teaching notes, activity plans, additional worksheets and answers. Teachers will find support for the new content area of Earth and Space, for the new thinking and working scientifically strand and including the use of models, and support with science in context, as you can see from these sample pages. Schools around the world have been very successfully using the first edition of Collins Cambridge Lower Secondary Science. So our preparation for this second edition included careful market research with schools and teachers to identify the elements that teachers really like and didn't want to lose. So you will find prior understanding sections, which we know teachers value. You'll find that materials are presented and revisited in a way that is designed to help students develop powers of recall. And there is content that guides students to build links across topics. We provide the differentiated activities that teachers like, the challenge questions that encourage students to think more deeply, and the student-friendly approach and careful use of language, so important for second language users. And there's plenty of practice in the student's book, in the workbook, and in the extra worksheets in the Teacher's Guide, all to ensure that this course remains excellent preparation for the study of science at IGCSE. So to summarise, we have a student's book at each stage available in print and as an ebook, a workbook at each stage also available in print, and a teacher's guide for each stage available in print, as an ebook and to download, so that you can download the lesson plans and edit them and download and print off activities and assessments. I hope this has been a useful introduction to the new edition of Collins Cambridge Lower Secondary Science.